Today we're going to talk about parallel and perpendicular lines. So first let's start with parallel lines. Parallel lines have the same slope, but they must have different y-intercepts. So if you were to look at your two lines here, we've got an orange, y equals 1/2 x plus 2. So we're starting here, we're going up 1 to the right 2, and I'm continuing the pattern. And then we can also go down and to the left, down and to the left, and continue the pattern. So when we get it, our line's going to look like that. So now let's look at this line. And this time we're starting at -6, but we still have the same slope. So we go here, we go up 1 to the right 2, and we continue our pattern. And then we can also reverse it and go down 1 to the left 2. And we can still reverse it from there. Now, if you notice, these are equal distance or equidistance. And because they have the same slope, but they have different starting points. So these are parallel lines. Now, here's where it gets a little different. Perpendicular slopes, so those intersect at 90-degree angles, have opposite reciprocals. But the y-intercepts, it doesn't matter if they're same or different. So when we say opposite reciprocal, what we mean is you flip the fraction and then change the sign from negative to positive or positive to negative. So opposite reciprocal is that. So let's look here. On our first line, our slope is 2/3. So we're going to start at +3, and our slope is to go up 2 and to the right 3. So we can go up 2 to the right 3. We can also go down 2 and to the left 3. So down and to the left, down and to the left. Now, if you notice here, look at this. If you're to flip 2/3, you're going to get 3/2. Now this is positive, so we're going to make it a negative. So you flip it, and then you're going to change the sign. So in this case, this is flipped, and it's negative. So we're going to start at -6, and we're going to go down 3 to the right 2, or you can go up 3 to the left 2. So up 3 to the left 2. And if you notice, they intersect and they actually end up forming a right angle at their point of intersection. So if it is flipped and you go from a positive to a negative, then they are perpendicular. So let's look at this one. For parallel perpendicular lines, so we need to figure out, are these parallel or perpendicular? So right now, looking at it, it doesn't look like they'll intersect. So I'm already thinking parallel in my head, but let's prove it. So I know for my equation, it starts at +6. And then from here, I can go down 2 and to the left 1. Or if I start here and I go up 2 and to the right 1. But either way, my slope's going to be 2/1, which is 2. Now, let's look here. I started at -4, and I'm going to go up 2 and to the right 1. So again, it doesn't matter if you go up 2 or if you go down and over, as long as it's a continual right triangle. But this is +2 over +1, which gives you 2. So I know these are perpendicular because they have the same slope but different y-intercepts. All right, so if you look at this one, for the red I have here, and I go down 1 over, down over, down over. So that's going to give me a slope of -1. But here, if I'm starting at -1 and I go up and to the right, that's actually a +1. So if it's perpendicular, remember you're going to flip and change the sign. So if I were to flip these, I'm going to get that, and we go from a negative to a positive. So that's your negative reciprocal. All right, so you can actually use Hoivux for horizontal and vertical lines. They are perpendicular to each other. So, because one goes this way, the other goes that way. So horizontal and vertical. So they're perpendicular. The symbol for parallel lines, it looks like an 11. It's not an 11. It means parallel. And I remember that because I think of these like your parallel lines. The symbol for perpendicular, it looks like an upside down T. And that one you can make a right angle out of. All right, so now we're going to start this table. And what I would write up here is if you want parallel, it's going to be the same as your original slope. If you want perpendicular, you have to flip and then change the sign, or negative reciprocal. All right, so let's look here. I always look for x because I know my slope is attached to x. So I know 3 is my slope, which is 3 over 1. So parallel is going to be the same. So these two should be the same. Now, to get perpendicular, you're going to have to flip it and then change it from a positive to a negative. So we flipped it and then we changed the sign. So that's perpendicular. So now let's look at this. Well, your slope, I look for my x, and slope is multiplied by x. So if your slope's 1/2, it's going to be the same for parallel. Now, if you flip these two, you're going to get 2. And if this is positive, change it to a negative. And that's your new slope. All right, I want you to try these. Now remember, we just said horizontal and vertical lines are perpendicular to each other. So when you're thinking of this, if your slope here is y equals 0x plus 5, your slope is actually 0. So this should also be 0. Well, the inverse of 0 would be undefined, because then it's going to make it an x equals. So the same kind of goes here. Here your slope is undefined, which would make this also undefined, and if you were to flip it, it would actually be 0. So that's a tricky one, these last two, but I want you to go ahead and I want you to try the rest. Oh, and here's another little thing to help you remember, just a little trick. But remember, undefined is when you have 0. So we say, no, you can't have 0 in the denominator. Or you can have 0 in the numerator. That's okay. So when you're doing this, just remember 0 slope, it's okay. All right. Now, I did this one for you, but you're going to have to do that one. So just because we had multiple things to graph on here. So all I did was graph to x equals -4. So it crosses the x-axis at -4. And then x equals 2, so it crosses the x-axis at 2. Then it says graph y equals 4, and those are my dash lines. So I've got it crosses the y-axis at 4. And then y equals 2, so it crosses the y-axis at 2. And if you notice, these are perpendicular to each other. So again, go ahead and graph those to see what happens. Now, if you have to find the equation of something that's parallel, it needs to have the same slope. So let's go ahead, let's look to see what I've got here. So I know if my original slope is -1, my parallel slope is also going to be -1. I know this is my x, this is my y, because it passes through those points. So remember, write your equation, plug in what you know, solve for what you don't. So I know my slope is -1, I know my x is 6, and I know my y is 10. We do not know the new y-intercept, so that's what we have to solve for. So I've got -6 here. So now I've got to move this guy over here to get b by itself. That cancels out. I'm left with b equals 16. So now remember to use your new slope and then use your y-intercept and then put it all together. You will also see this written as y equals -x plus 16. Both are correct. This is probably the form you're going to see on test, but you should know your slope is -1. But this is probably the format you'll use. All right, I want you to go ahead and try that one. I will give you a hint on this one. You have to solve for y first. You have to put in y equals mx plus b. So put in y equals mx plus b first, then you can go through and then you can solve and do the rest. All right, so now let's look here. If you want to write an equation that's perpendicular, you're looking for the negative reciprocal, or you're flipping it and then changing the sign of a line that passes through the point. So let's look at our example here. We have y equals 2x plus 6, and it passes through that point. So if your slope is originally 2, remember, if it is 2, we make it 2 over 1. We're going to flip it and make it 1/2. So we're going to make this 1/2. And now, if your original slope was positive, your new slope has to make, oops, why didn't that 2 go through? Your new slope needs to be negative. So your perpendicular slope is negative 1/2. So this is the slope we're going to use for our new line. All right, so we wrote the equation. We're going to plug in what we know. And we're going to solve for what we don't. So now, 1/2 times 0 is 0, so we're left with b equals negative 3, which truthfully, I wouldn't have had to do all that. I just knew that my x was 0. So let's put it all together, but remember to use the perpendicular slope now. And this is your equation of a line that's perpendicular. All right, same thing. I want you to try this, but you do need to put into y equals mx plus b first. All right, so just remember, parallel, same slope, different y-intercepts. Perpendicular are negative reciprocals or opposite reciprocals. So flip and change the sign, and then the y-intercepts, it doesn't matter.